I'm Todd for G66. Welcome to another Tuesday Tone Tip. Today's video is all about bass, and I want to show you how you can use a single block in the Axe FX3 to get a great DI bass guitar tone. Before we do that though, this is a Music Man Stingray. I've plugged it into input 1 of my Axe FX3, and I want you to hear the clean DI of this particular bass running straight through the Axe FX. These strings are quite old, and I am playing with a pick, so all you bass players out there, go easy on me in the comments, but this is the raw DI from the bass. So there is a really lovely clean low end on this particular bass. Like I said, the strings are old, so it's not super bright sounding, but let's dial in some bass tones anyway. And the one block we're going to use is actually a drive block. No cab, no amp, no compressor. We're going to use the Blackglass 7K, and I want to show you some of my favorite settings in it. Let's just hear it at the stock settings, because I think this already sounds pretty good if you like your bass with a bit of grit on it. What I find really effective with this particular block, and as with any drive block on bass, is the mix control. I like to actually bring the mix down to about 75% as a starting point. It's just going to blend in some of that clean DI in there so that we can still get some of that low end articulation, but then we've still got the lovely warm crunch from this block. Let's hear that, and we'll dive into the specific controls. Very nice indeed. Now, the top row of controls should be fairly familiar, but in firmware 19.01 of the Axe FX3, all the drives now have this high-mid control in there, and it's really powerful on bass with this Blackglass model. So what I'm going to do is pump up some bass on here, and I'm going to pump up some treble because the strings are kind of old. Then we'll talk about the grunt and the attack, as well as the two mid controls on here. So let's just get a kind of scoopy bass sound happening. We get this. So it's a lovely, fat, rich bass tone in there. If I wanted to, I could pull out a bunch of this mid-range control here, get even more of a scooped bass tone going, and then I can use the high-mid control to either accentuate that scooped character, or I can push it up, get a really kind of aggressive tone out of it. Let's hear that. I kind of like that, and of course if I wanted less drive I could bring the drive control down. Personally, I love crunchy bass guitar, but if you just want more of a kind of tone shaping tool on here, bring the drive down and compensate by turning the level up. Let's pump the high mid control up now. We get this. That kind of gives me a bit of a Doug Pinnick, Chris Squire vibe on there. Of course, we could go the other way. We could pump the mids up and we could roll off some treble on here. This really gives me like a mid-70s kind of Ampeg style vibe on it. And then we'll worry about the grunt and attack control in a second. Now, if you crank the drive on here, this really starts to give me a little bit of like a Motorhead vibe. into that vibe, there's this attack control in here, which to me just kind of compensates for your playing style. I'm playing with a pick, but the strings are old on this. I think it kind of compensates for old strings, so I can have a listen to that now. Ooh, that is nasty. Let's bring the drive down just a little bit, and we've got this grunt control in here, and to me, the grunt control is like a tight control. So what I'm gonna do now is bring the mids back down here. I'm gonna go easy on the bass, and I will bring the grunt control all the way down. Let's give this some more treble on here, because I want more of a kind of modern, aggressive thing out of this. Go easier on the bass, bring the grunt down, we get this. Alrighty, let's do this. Let's bring the grunt up to about 200 Hertz. This will let us pump loads more bass in here. I'm going to bring the bass up quite a lot. Now, if you really, really like this sort of bass tones, pump the drive up here, bring the mix down a little bit lower, go hard with the attack, and just balance out the bass and the grunt knob on here. I like the grunt a little bit lower and the bass up around there. Plenty of high mids and treble. And this one, if you're down tuning as well, is really, really great. You get so much pick attack. And of course, you can combine this with other blocks. You don't just have to use this one block. I more wanted to use a single block just to show you how many different kind of shades of crunch you can get with a bass guitar on here. But combine this with a parallel clean tone and a compressor, or combine it with an SVT style amp or something like the Triple Crest for the high end, and it is monstrous. But on its own, we get this. Hopefully that gives you plenty of ideas to use the Blackglass model in the drive block on your bass. And I would just consider this as a building block for your perfect bass guitar tone. I really hope you have some fun exploring this particular effect type in the drive block on your bass guitar. Let me know how you go in the comments, or if you have any further questions. Till next time, I hope you have a fantastic week, and I'll see you for another Tuesday Tone Tip. Cheers.